This is Self-Starter. Welcome to Self-Starter, a podcast that highlights the small business owners, the self-employed and freelancers who have taken the plunge to create their own desirable lifestyle. My name is Andy Dowling. I'm also the host of the Andy Social podcast. I play bass in the Australian metal band Lord, and I'm also a dispute resolution specialist. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook by searching at Andy Dowling, or you can head on over to selfstarter.com.au where you can learn more about yours truly and anything and everything to do with the self-employment world. So before we kick into this episode, I am proud to announce that I've been made a finalist in the 2018 Australian Podcast Awards in the category of Host of the Year. Of all the categories that I was going to potentially be in, Host of the Year was certainly the last one I would have been considering. I'm absolutely blown away with the recognition, and I just want to take the moment to thank all of you guys for supporting the podcast by listening, sharing the blogs around, recommending the podcast to other friends, but also all the business owners that continue to show their generosity in giving up their time to share their stories for all of us. So the winners of the 2018 Australian Podcast Awards will be announced on Saturday, May the 5th, which is actually this Friday of the week this podcast is coming out. So I'm very close. If you're in Melbourne or you're anywhere and you're interested in going to the event, you can go to AustralianPodcastAwards.com and you can get tickets over there, but you can also learn about all of the podcast finalists over at AustralianPodcastAwards.com. So I'm very excited to see what the results are going to be, but regardless of who the winners are, whether I am a winner or not, being a finalist is an amazing achievement for me personally, for the podcast and for everybody, especially in the south coast of New South Wales where all of the business owners have been highlighted so far. So really, really cool result, and thank you very much. Now, moving along, this week's episode is with Ellen Thornthwaite of Feel Good Financial Services, who are located in Sanctuary Point, which is on the south coast of New South Wales. Many of you guys would probably already have worked that out by now. While Ellen has many years working in the finance sector, and in particular working as a broker, approximately 2 months ago, roughly, very fresh, Ellen took the plunge and made the decision to launch her own business from home. Ellen is using her expertise as well as her personal experiences to build a close-knit, personalised network of clients on the south coast of New South Wales as well as Sydney by providing things such as reassurance, education and confidence in helping people achieve their financial goals, because money can be quite an emotive subject to talk about, and it's very hard to get people to open up about it. So it's a hard thing to tackle, but as we discuss in this episode, Ellen has a number of approaches, especially having her own personal experiences certainly helps. You can find Feel Good Financial Services via Facebook by searching the name, or you can go to feelgoodfs.com.au to learn more. As always, though, you can find all the links and everything we discuss in the show notes over at selfstarter.com.au, including my key takeaways, which you can check out after this chat. But for now, enough of me. Please enjoy this inspiring chat with Ellen Thornthwaite of Feel Good Financial Services. Thank you for inviting me down to, it seems like the end of the world here.
It is, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, so we're in Sanctuary Point at the Pelican something cafe?
Pelican Waterfront Cafe.
Yeah, and it literally is that. I'm looking across those pelicans right there, and we are on the waterfront, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So kicking into it, do you want to give a brief introduction of who you are and what your business is all about?
Sure. So my name is Ellen Thornthwaite. I'm a finance broker and the owner of Feel Good Financial Services. I've been broking for almost 2 years now, but the business Feel Good is very new, only launching at the start of February. It's been very exciting, very scary all in one go, but giving it my best and seeing how I can make it work.
Oh, it's so fresh. So leading up to, obviously, this is just launched literally a couple of months ago. What were you doing prior to that? I know you mentioned you've been doing sort of brokering for a couple of years, but what's your background? Where's sort of the history leading up to now?
Mm-hmm. So I did jump around a bit, being young and having no idea what I wanted to do. Previously, I was working at St. George Bank for about 6 years. I realised that I loved working in finance, and that's really something that interested me, that I had a passion for. I just didn't so much like the bank culture. Yep. So an opportunity came up for me to start working for a local broker through a friend of a friend, and I jumped on the opportunity and haven't looked back.
And I mean, what was obviously the culture is sort of working in a corporate environment, or especially sort of in finance and banking. There's a lot of pressure there. But what was probably one of the big appeals? Was it so much just to get away from that, or was there something about working sort of in a more smaller structure or working for yourself that was appealing for you?
It was definitely, it was a bit of both. So from working for the big corporate structure, I knew exactly what I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
That was the easiest part. I guess working for myself was just a bonus that I never expected. Moving away from the real sales culture was what moved me to start with, wanting to help people without having a manager standing over your shoulder and making sure you're doing it their way. So that's what made me start looking for other opportunities to start with, and then just being able to work for myself, being able to work from home, all of that just came as a bonus that I never imagined I would ever have that opportunity to do.
And was there I mean, there might not be a particular moment, but was there a sort of almost like a light bulb moment where you thought, I can actually do this myself?
It was funny the day I left, I think I was so excited, just hoping that it would work, but tried not to think too much about the risk because I'm a very risk adverse person. I don't like taking risks. So it was really scary, but I just tried to be positive about it and go for it. It was probably after my first year that I looked back and I realised that it had been a whole year that I'd left. I was working, I was making money, I was surviving, more than surviving. And I remembered at that point to celebrate every small victory and really, every day is a win that I'm still doing this. So.
Yeah, definitely. And leading up to, I guess, the launch of the business now, was there any particular challenges that you had to get through, whether it be mentally or something like a hurdle you had to get through to sort of get to the point where you actually put it out there to the general public? Yeah,
it was definitely, again, that risk factor of I could have stayed doing what I was doing, working for this local company. I was contracting to them, so technically I was still self-employed, but I had all my leads provided to me, all my marketing done for me. Everything was easy, and I could have sat back in that comfortable position and just seen what happened. But I wanted more. I wanted to be able to put my own brand on it, to put my own personality into it. And so I really did have to, just jump right in and just try to make it work.
And I mean, it's probably really hard to answer because it's only a couple of months in, but what are some of the early challenges that you're facing now since you've launched it? It's out there, people know you exist, but what are you facing at the moment?
It's still very much lead generation, so trying to get my name out there. I'm doing a lot of digital advertising, just trying to get a lot of brand recognition. So, people see my brand and they know that I'm there. I'm trying to bring in new customers, to build up that base, build up that trust, build up that word of mouth referral network that I really need. So that's been the scariest thing is reaching out. The first couple of weeks I had quite a few leads come in, bit of work coming in, and I was really excited thinking, God, this was easier than I thought it was going to be. And then it kind of went dead silent and I thought, oh no, what have I done? What have I done wrong? So trying to get back into it without reinventing the wheel, look at, okay, what has worked, what isn't working, and fine tune it from there.
And I mean, with finance, money in general is it can be a touchy subject for a lot of people, and it's something that people steer clear of if they can help it.
Yeah, it's very personal, very intimate.
So to attract the right people to what you're providing, I would assume that word of mouth is probably a really big thing that you would rely on. I mean, obviously advertising, making sure that you're visible and people can find you if they're searching for you, so especially digitally. But the word of mouth is probably really important because it's a close reassurance that this is somebody that you should talk to and they've got that validation from somebody that they already trust.
Yes, absolutely. So you can do all the advertising in the world that you want, but to get someone to trust you, to tell them absolutely everything about your life, including the last cent in your pocket, is a big ask. Much easier if it's, a close friend, family member, someone that you trust personally that says, hey, this person really helped me to get in control of my finances or to buy my dream home, whatever it might be. And so that's the challenge. You've got to start somewhere. You've got to get a few customers to be able to get those referrals.
Yeah, and I just know from my personal experience, just, I mean, one of the things that you talk about on your website, one of the things that you offer is helping people, for example, buy their first home. And you mentioned in sort of your background in your write-up saying that you had just recently gone through that yourself, and I've done that a couple of years ago, and it's absolutely nerve-wracking. And to understand how many steps and how many people are involved it's just so daunting. And I understand that really the saving of the money is probably half the battle. The other half is actually trying to understand the logistics around it. And I think just sort of having a look at your website is quite interesting, because I think you give a lot of reassurances about certain things. I think you sort of preempt what a lot of concerns people would have up front.
Yeah, well, I hope that is the case, because that's exactly, I've had to think, okay, from my experiences, how did I feel? I was horrified. I was very frightened, and I come from a finance background, so I knew a lot of the terminology, the processes, but it was still really frightening. Especially for me, I built my home, so it was an ongoing process. It wasn't just to buy the house and it's over. So I know how scary it can be. I know the value that my service can be to people who are navigating through that journey themselves.
And I mean, with the power of the internet, sounds so cheesy, but with the connectivity that we have with so many people, for you, your business, is your priority local, or at least sort of, the South Coast or something like that, or are you sort of setting yourself up in a way that you can provide this service to anybody nationally?
It is primarily focused locally. The reason why is that from a legal compliance point of view, I have to do a face-to-face identification with my clients. There are some exceptions to the rule, but so for the most part, it is local, because I'm going to need to meet them face-to-face at least once during the process. So I am happy to travel. We'll go from Sydney to right down the South Coast, but I do have to really focus my efforts on the local area to make the most of my time.
Are you attracting a certain type of person?
I hope so. It is very difficult. I've been told to, sort of my marketing gurus have all said, you really need to find your niche. You need to zero in on that one crowd. Who are you trying to attract? And as a new business, that was very scary. I thought, I don't have the luxury of excluding anyone. I want to help everybody. But I do find that first home buyers, for me, I think I'm attracted to helping them because I see myself in them. I know the journey, and I want to see them succeed. I want to see them break into the property market. I want to see them in 10 years' time buy their investment property and grow their portfolio. So that is my aim at the moment.
Is there any particular early tactics that you're doing that's trying to tap into that sort of segment, or is it sort of still early days? As you said, because it's so new, you're sort of on the fence as far as, can I afford to be really niche really early, or sort of spread it out where I capture a lot of different people and then refine it later on?
Yeah.
But is there anything you're doing early on to try and attract particular preference?
Yeah, so definitely with my my online marketing, I'm definitely targeting the first home buyer crowd. Especially just advertising on Facebook, full stop. You know that you're targeting millennials, but yes, I am targeting the younger group there. I am very much open if I have anyone contact me. I also do seniors finance. I go from one end of the spectrum to the other. So if at any point I have anyone contact me, I just think, I can do it. But yes, I am trying to target that mostly from digital marketing.
Speaking of online, I had a look through your website and really impressed with the way that you structure it, because it's very simple in concept, but it paints a picture about who you are, which I think is something that a lot of businesses are only just starting to get their head around, where, I guess from a black and white point of view, you are providing financial services to people, and that's it. Obviously there's more sort of different nuances within that umbrella, but it's a function that you're providing a service. But from my perspective, you've painted a picture where it's far more personable, and that alludes into your name of your business as well. And you talk about customer service, and I think just it's impressive to see, because I think you spend a lot of time really trying to work out how you portray yourself and putting yourself out there. I mean, you've got your picture on your website, people can identify with you, and I guess that comes back to the whole thing about money being emotional. You've got to identify and find a way to be to find some form of like-minded or connection with the person that you're about to disclose all this information to.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess that was a real luxury for me when I decided to go out on my own, that I got to build my business. I got to sit back and think about what I wanted to see. If I was looking for a mortgage broker or not looking for a mortgage broker, what would I be attracted by? And so I wanted my personality to really be able to shine through the business, because, again, it is that trustworthy thing. I want you to know who I am. That's why my picture's there. I wanted my business to really reflect my personality in every way I possibly could.
Was that a little bit daunting when you were sort of going through that process and going, okay, how do I put this out here?
It was. I feel like the name and the concept came quite naturally. I was actually at a workshop, and I was listening to some fantastic speakers that were advertising specialists, and they were talking about, you being your brand and ways that you can implement that. And these ideas just started coming into my head, and I thought, geez, I wonder if I could ever do that. And I thought that was a bit silly and sort of, ignore it. But then I put more thought into it and I thought, no, why not? Just go for it and really make it happen. And that's kind of how it came about. So it's been a really fun process, doing the branding, the logo, the name, the website. Even though that was a headache, it was fun to be able to create that. I've never had that opportunity before. So,
well, I think I've gone through a bit of that myself, like just putting my own website out there, and I went through a similar process where it was an absolute headache and a nightmare because it was outside my comfort zone and my expertise, but I had someone to help me. But once it was out there, I think it sort of validates something. It validates what your whole vision is and what you're planning to do. Whereas leading up to that, you might be second guessing yourself. You're usually your worst critic. Yeah. You're always worried about being judged by other people. But I think once it's out there, it's sort of a little feather in the hat to say, no, this is it. This is
in
legit.
writing and out for everybody to see. So there's definitely a level of vulnerability with it, which I've had to embrace. And I did launch the business before I did my website. I had intended on paying a local company to do the website. Found out I couldn't afford it. Thought I'd save up. Thought I'd do it myself in the end. So did it myself. Was so proud of my efforts, and then it encapsulated everything I wanted to say in one website. So I felt, justified that I could say, hey, look at me and look at what I can do. I think
it's really good, and to know that you sort of learnt on the fly just to create it because of a necessity of budget, from a money point of view.
Yes.
But it talks about who you are and it puts yourself out there, but it also has the things like the FAQs. It's got information there, and as I said before, it sort of preempts some of the questions or things that might hesitate or stop someone from actually taking that step to contacting you. So it's sort of like let's remove those first awkward questions. You can discover this in your free time without me looking over you, and then once you've done that and you're okay, let's have a chat. And I think it's a big thing that a lot of businesses are still trying to get their head around and try and learn. So it's sort of that helpful content.
Yeah, that's right. So I wanted to remove the barriers to contacting me to, I feel I'm very transparent and honest, and I want people to ask me those questions, but I know that they're the questions that everybody has that they don't want to ask. So they are there for everybody to see. I'm trying to make it easy. I guess in my line of work, I am the product that I'm trying to sell. So, I don't have pictures of my product or descriptions of my product
some
to put
pens,
on there.
Some paper.
It's just me.
Yeah. And well, actually, because you mentioned it before, and it's sort of stuck in the back of my head now, because you've had to learn to create a website. I mean, without going into too much of a deep discussion about it, but what sort of things did you have to do? Was it sort of like, I don't know, did you go on YouTube? Did you Google how to make a website? Did you use something like WordPress and sort of, I don't know, like what did that look like?
I did. So I used WordPress.
Yeah.
It was, it took me about 2 full days of working on it, which is actually pretty quick.
It's pretty
considering what I came out with.
Yeah.
So I watched every link, every self-help, everything on WordPress site that I could find as to how to do it. And I just kept going until I got it right. Very lucky to have my husband and my sister as a sounding board, and I kept, what do you think of this one? What about this one? What about this one?
That helps.
Until they, I don't know about that. So through trial and error and a lot of self-help links, we got there.
I think that's probably a really good thing for people to keep in mind is that, I'm definitely in the same boat. I wouldn't even think about trying it myself because I just go, "Oh, I don't know how to do it. I'm not a web developer. I've never done any courses. I don't have any expertise in that, so I wouldn't do it." And I'm lucky. I've got a few friends that sort of work in that, and they've done me some favors at various times. But I've had no choice. I've got no options. I've had to dive into WordPress and go, what am I clicking on? Is this going to explode in front of me? And a lot of trial and error. But I think the big thing now is that you can Google something, you can go on YouTube, you can watch tutorials, and it might be a bit painful and a bit tedious, but as you said, the website's really good, and for 2 full days, and it might have been 2 really painful
they
days.
Were very painful.
You got like some serious headaches coming from it. But in the grand scheme of things, that could have been something that you may have put off for 6 to 12 months and just put it in the back of your mind, too hard, but you got in there, pushed through a comfort zone and just made it happen in a very short space of time.
Yeah, so I did. I was sort of looking at that 6 to 12 months, and then I thought, how much business could I potentially lose by not having this website up, by not having all the answers at the click? I'm myself very much of, if I hear about a business that I'm interested, if you don't have a website, I'm probably not going to use your services. At the very least, you need a Facebook, but it's almost a mark that you are a real respectable business, you know what you're doing, to have a website. So it was really important for me that I did it, and I'm happy that I did it. And I'm also glad that I did take the time to learn how to do it, because now I can regularly update my content whenever I want.
Don't have to rely on somebody else to do it for you.
And I do my weekly blog on there, and if I think, I've got something that I want to add to the FAQs, I just jump on and I change it.
Perfect. And it also, I guess, as your business grows, and then you might get new ideas or opportunities or things that you can provide, then it's easy enough just to add a new section.
Exactly.
So it's not something where you've restricted yourself so much that it's like, oh, that's it, and then I have to wait until I get several thousands of dollars to go and get someone to redesign or build a whole new website.
Right.
Or anything like
I
that.
actually had end of last year went to go to a restaurant in Huskisson and checked their opening hours on their website. And said they were open, went to the restaurant, and they were closed. And I sent them an email saying, hey guys, you need to update, just so you know, you need to update your contact hours. Oh, our web guy's on holidays, we can't get in touch with him. And I thought, I never want to be in that position where I don't know how to control that myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've found that on the Easter long weekend. I was trying to find somewhere on Monday to go and have a coffee with my wife, and I went online, and most of the cafes in Nowra are sort of closed, and they had actually written on their Facebook and on their website, but there was one in particular that my wife loves going to, and their last post was on the Wednesday or the Thursday leading up to the long weekend, and didn't even acknowledge, I think they said Happy Easter or something like that, and then that was it. And there's nothing more, and they don't post very regularly anyway. And so I went online, went on the Google sort of business page, didn't allude to anything special, so I thought, I'll go down there, and sure enough, they were closed.
Of course, yeah.
But it's just a case of, I mean, those things are so simple.
Yes, yeah.
But I think a lot of people, when they look at it, it's so daunting, and they go, technology, or the internet, or websites, or whatever it might be, and it's just too hard. I think people still struggle with Facebook, which can be a bit of a laugh, but I get it depending on where your business journey's been. Like if you've just been so used to advertising through newspaper, local radio, TV, or the Yellow Pages, which I'm surprised it still exists barely. But I think people that come from that world are still struggling. But I think a lot of us that probably have had more of the internet in our lives, sort of growing up, we're a little bit
accustomed to it.
Yeah, but obviously we still struggle with some of this stuff as well, where we go, haven't really had a lot of exposure to this. Should I outsource this and just cop the amount of money, or should I dig in deep and go through a bit of a painful period? But it's so hard to ask you this because you're so new as far as the business is concerned. But I mean, where do you hope to see the business in the next 6 to 12 months? I mean, I guess it's where it is now and just continuing to build, but is there anything particular, like as far as goals, like short-term goals that you're looking to achieve? Yeah,
so I would love to, in 12 months' time, be able to pull back on my Facebook advertising budget and not have to do any advertising. I would love to have helped, enough clients within the next 6 months that they love what I've done for them. They love the business. They can't shut up about it. They tell their friends, and it just becomes organic. That's what I really want.
Yeah. And I think the advantage, and sometimes people might not think this is the case, in sort of slower parts of the country. We're in the South Coast, it's very slow here in a good way. That the advantage is that good news does travel,
Yes.
as well as bad news.
Or bad news travels much faster, yes.
But good news does travel, and I think people are more inclined to listen to their neighbour down here than their neighbour in a larger city.
Yeah.
And I think people are a little bit more closer connected. People know what each other are doing. Sometimes that can be a bit too much, but it can be an advantage if you're providing a local service down here.
Yes, and I think that's one of the benefits of really honing in and focusing on my local area is that, exactly right. I can cash in on that, hoping that, I help the community by, my giving back, but also from just my normal service, that they're happy enough with it that they tell everybody about it.
Well, I'm really interested to see where the business goes. Early days. I mean, it's great that you've got the technical expertise in that background of where you've worked in that industry and being finance, but regardless of that expertise, you've had to go through quite a bit to get to this point, and it's still being early days, no doubt. And looking at it from a silver lining point of view, you no doubt have a lot of challenges still ahead, but it should be hopefully really rewarding and successful for you.
Absolutely, and I think I'm always learning from my current experiences and my previous experiences, and just never stop learning and grow from those and keep moving.
Very good. Well, I'll put links in the show notes. Website is feelgoodfs.com.au.
Yes.
Okay, well, great. I'll put it in the show notes anyway, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone. If you want to reach out to Ellen and learn a little bit more about personal finance, you can find Ellen via Facebook by searching Feel Good Financial Services, or you can go to feelgoodfs.com.au to learn more. As always, and as mentioned at the beginning of the episode, you can go to selfstarter.com.au, click on the show notes for this episode, and I'll dump everything that we discussed, including all the links and contact details for Ellen there as well. Now, as always, in true self-starter fashion, I have a number of key takeaways from this episode that I got some value from. If there's something that I missed or something in addition that you think was really, really interesting and something that triggered a thought or an idea, I'd love to hear from you. So please contact me via any of the social media channels or go into selfstarter.com.au. Number one, provide reassurance. So preempt the questions that you're going to have from your customers. Remove the first awkward questions that might stop people from actually making contact in the first place, as they don't want to go through that possibility of having to ask what they feel may be obvious or awkward questions. I'm certainly one of these people, and I've been victim to it in the past, where I've actually stopped myself from contacting someone because I've been too scared to ask what I feel might be a really dumb question. So Ellen's done a really, really good job of having an FAQ on her website where she answers a number of what might be obvious questions, but a lot of people may not know about. So it's a fantastic thing that she's done to try and break down some of those initial hurdles that people may recoil back from and be reluctant to make first contact. Number two, you might not know, but you can learn. Realizing the budget didn't allow for someone else to create a website, Ellen decided to dive in and learn how to create a simple website from scratch. She used online tutorials and guides along with feedback from her husband and her sister as well, that takes a lot of courage. Ellen was able to get a website together and up and running within about 2 days, which when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, we put things off for months and sometimes years at a time. But for 2 full-on days, it certainly makes a difference. And while they were filled with headaches and uncomfortable moments, Ellen saved a lot of money and established a lot more confidence and control over what she's creating when it comes to providing additional updates and changes in the future. Ellen also knew that by holding off for several months to raise money or to find another way of getting a website up and running, that she could potentially lose a lot of money. So the short-term pain, as they say, leads to long-term gains. So she's definitely done the right approach there. Number 3, learn from others' mistakes. So Ellen retells a story of wanting to go to a local restaurant on the South Coast and looking online and seeing the opening times indicating that the restaurant was actually going to be open. And she found out on arrival that it was actually closed. And when Ellen sent an email to the business to tell them what had happened, they responded that they were unable to update the information on the website because their web developer was on holidays and they couldn't actually get in touch with them. And at that moment, and as Ellen mentioned in our chat, she decided that she'd never want to be in that position and find herself in a situation where she was unable to control the information that she puts out for her business. So for her, going back to point number 2 about creating her website, this was an extra bit of motivation and fuel to dive dive in and experience a little bit of short-term pain, but obviously coming out on top with having a website that she can control and own herself. Number 4, embracing referrals. Ellen hopes to pull back on the amount of time and money invested in attracting new leads in the next 12 months or so and work primarily off a referral system from existing clients. Now, Ellen's got an advantage when it comes to finance, where trust is such a big factor in a person's decision to work with a broker. However, the upfront hard work to establish those first few clients is essential to reaching that level of self-supply where work organically comes through via referrals from people that trust others, and you're not forever doing the hard sell and attracting new clients all the time. So something that a lot of people can think about is what sort of experience can you provide to the first few customers that you have come to you for business, where the experiences of such a high quality where people want to refer and create that organic referral system for yourself. And last one. Now, this one was not in the chat with Ellen, but it was one that I actually missed and I meant to bring up with her at the time, but it's around charity. So part of Ellen's approach is to personalize as much of the business as she can. And as Ellen put it in the chat, I am the product that I'm trying to sell. So part of this includes an opportunity to give back to local charities in the area that are close to Ellen's heart. And this shows another personal side to Ellen, and it can be an added incentive for a prospective client who might actually identify with some of Ellen's passions. And, you know, we make a lot of decisions subconsciously, and sometimes little things like this could be the turning point or the main reason why someone tips in one direction over the other. So you can actually check out all the charities that Ellen supports on her website as well at feelgoodfs.com.au. So that's it. That's another episode down, another fantastic story for you guys. If you got something out of this that I didn't highlight, I would love to hear from you. If you've got information that you would love to share with other people, I would also love to hear from you. The more that we can share with each other, the more that we can find our own success in our own field of work, in our own self-starting journey. So as always, you can go to the blog over at selfstarter.com.au. You can check out the previous episodes of the podcast. I will find out whether I'm a winner of Host of the Year for the 2018 Podcast Awards this Saturday. But regardless, being a finalist is pretty incredible as well. But thank you so much for everyone for your support and encouragement. And please keep the recommendations coming. Love to hear more feedback from you all. Leave a review wherever on the internet you feel is appropriate. And until next fortnight, take care, guys. Ta-ta.